after all that you have done and all the Islamophobia that you have stoked.
I'm so sorry. Well, certainly it was never my intention. I do believe words matter. I believe we have to show
They do matter, and this right here is the result of a massacre stoked by people like you and the words that you put out into the world. And I want you to know that, and I want you to feel that deep inside. 49 people died because of the rhetoric that you put out there.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think...
What does "I'm sorry you feel that way" mean? What does that mean?
Hello, friends. It's me, Will. We're back. It's Chapo. Got Felix and Virgil on deck, but our guest this week, making his, longtime collaborator, making his second appearance on the show itself, a guy I'm sure you're familiar with. It's popular anti-Semitic cartoonist Eli Valley. It's our favorite anti-Jewish cartoonist. Yeah,
Hail Hitler.
No, Eli, we wanted to have you on because I swear to God, like we've been, checking in on this Ilhan Omar controversy that's been going on over the last couple of weeks. But now we are, of course, coming across news of yet another fascist massacre of innocent people, this time in 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. And, it's time that our sort of the political and media class in this country, when coming face to face with horror like that, has, united to protect the daughters of rich, powerful political dynasties. Chelsea Clinton, Meghan McCain, and like this is your wheelhouse, LA.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also, I think Ilhan Omar and what happened in New Zealand, it's like bookends to this horrific Islamophobic explosion we're experiencing.
Yeah, and I just feel like Ellie, like over the last, certainly in the midst of the Meghan McCain thing and the Ilhan Omar controversy, and then you have people, like a Ben Shapiro flunkies comparing you to Joseph Goebbels or whatever, and then supporters of Donald Trump, accusing you of misappropriating Judaism for bigoted ends. It's like, do you even have to draw anymore, Ellie? Like, is there are you still drawing?
It's true. It's a cliche now when I keep saying, satire has been eclipsed by reality. But the last comics I've done, I really don't feel like I've changed much. The Ben Shapiro videos are racist, and I just drew him with his crocodile tears. You know what I mean? So
yeah, there are photographs.
No, I actually like doing something that is so literal and then just focusing on the art, because the art brings out the grotesqueness behind the words that they're using. So.
You just had one today, of course, about Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah, caveat that I was up all night drawing it, and so I'm a little bit less than astute at the moment. Drinking Coca-Cola, though, so I hope that helps.
Not branded. This was not a native advertisement.
Yo, did you guys know there used to be cocaine in Coca-Cola?
So Chelsea, we saw a video over the weekend of, she was sort of put on the spot by a young activist after she showed up at a vigil for the 50 people killed in Christchurch. And she was sort of put through the paces for her sort of co-signing of this absurd line of attack on Ilhan Omar for being anti-Semitic or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And she maintained her impenetrable nice veneer of niceness for sure, but obviously but then there was just the Protect Chelsea Brigade came down full force.
Yeah. And it really made it like the victim of Christchurch was scion of America, an oligarch in America. But also, she could have put out a tweet saying, listen, this woman was in pain. Please don't go bullying her, because both her and her friend have received death threats and, sexual assault threats and all that kind of shit. And Chelsea, and also they're saying Chelsea's not powerful. She's not an elected official. She's one of the most powerful non-elected officials in the country, in the world.
She's not powerful. She was at an interfaith dialogue because of her expertise on all the faiths and dialogue and all that. It does show the limits of people who claim to just interpret spaces and bodies all the time. That not just this woman who not just co-signed on Omar, basically implied Omar wasn't American.
Yeah.
As an American, I find this distasteful. What she said to the initial Omar tweet, after the massacre of Muslims, to go there as some sort of expert, some fellow in interfaith dialogue, how wouldn't you fucking scream at her?
Yeah.
But the response,
the woman didn't scream at her either.
Right. No, she didn't. You're right.
They were having a dialogue.
They were having an interfaith dialogue. Yeah. That's what she signed up for. But my favorite response in all this has been that, like, Chelsea's trying to help. I would love to sit one of these people down in, like, an interrogation room and explain to me how Chelsea is helping. I would love to learn that. What possibly could she be doing that is helping anyone at all in the world? Is she just showing up and sitting at a table and just spitting out the same fucking word salad she does every day about faith and dialogue and communities and blah 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 fucking just what? Who is getting anything out of this?
I mean, I think it should be reiterated again. Like, it was only not that long ago that we saw an act of terrorism against the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, in which the shooter selected those people and his target because that synagogue was working with groups to resettle refugees here in America, refugees like Representative Ilhan Omar. And then this latest atrocity in New Zealand, they were targeted because they were immigrants and they were some of them were refugees and they were Muslim. And like that. And then, so this is in the midst of, like, up until what happened over the weekend in New Zealand, all the same people are just telling us that, like, this anti-Semitism from the left is, like, a big problem and it's getting worse. And it's just like, are they unaware of the ones who are actually walking into houses of worship and gunning down 50, 60 people?
Yeah. I did like a quick comic of a Klansman saying, Linda Sarsour must denounce Farrakhan.
Did you see, was this a fellow cartoonist, Bill Bromhall, in the New York Daily News, had an editorial cartoon last week that was like, it was a line outside Ilhan Omar's office, and it was a Nazi officer, a KKK guy, and Louis Farrakhan, and, like, the secretary was like, Representative Omar, your constituents are here.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, what I liked about that commercial is, like,
Farrakhan lives in Minnesota.
But, like, out of context, it could just
brothers and sisters, we are gathered on Lake Wobegon.
But, like, outside of that context, you just looked at that image, you'd be like, oh, they're lining up outside her office to kill her. Like, that's what's going on there.
Totally.
But, like, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I had this comic idea I was toying with at first when Pelosi was, like, reprimanding Omar. I was going to do it with Pelosi, but then when she sort of backtracked a little bit, I was going to do it with, like, Brett Stevens, Barry Weiss, Ben Shapiro et al. And I mean, it was a very visceral cartoon, and I might still do it if this continues, which means I'm going to do it. But it's basically the caption is after it all ended, the Jewish right or Pelosi visited her grave, and it's going to have. I know it's really actually disturbing, but it was before Christchurch that I was working on it. It's going to have her, Ilhan Omar birth date until 2019. And they're all going to be skitzing out. It's going to say rest in peace. And they're going to be interpreting that as saying that Israel doesn't really want peace. And they're going to say this tombstone is, tear down this tombstone. Something like that. But clearly it's falling on deaf ears.
But yeah, like, so the usual suspects are, of course, at full force to, say, let's not take too seriously, the politics or motivation of the shooter. But, like, I kind of agree with that in that, like, I don't want to waste any time parsing what's in his fucking manifesto or trying to, like, suss out the different levels of, like, in-jokes or, like, trolling, or they're like, oh, this is just these are just internet-related mass murders. But, like, the point is, what the fucking ideology is. You know it because you see it every fucking day. It's just a matter of, like, how it's presented. You hear it in the mouths of politicians like Steve King, Louis Gohmert, and yes, our president Donald Trump. You heard it in the post of the guy who walked into a synagogue in Pittsburgh, and now this guy in New Zealand.
You saw it in Trump's reaction when the first thing he links to is Breitbart for breaking news. That's a fucking dog whistle right there, clearly. And in the same Breitbart that same day, he had been boasting about his fascist gangs, right? Bikers for Trump, they're going to kick everyone's ass.
Let me bring up that quote, actually, because this was stunning. He said this, like, I think 2 days or a day before this happened. He said, "You know, the left plays a tougher game. It's very funny. I actually think that the people on the right are tougher, but they don't play it tougher, okay? I can tell you I have the support of the police, the support of the military, the support of the bikers for Trump. I have the tough people, but they don't play it tough until they go to a certain point, and then it would be very bad, very bad. But the left plays it cuter and tougher, like with all that nonsense they do in Congress." So, I mean, terrifying that he is just sort of like, not so subtly, implying that that the police, military, and bikers for Trump will take matters into their own hands if, democracy fails them.
Yeah.
But again, the bikers for Trump, we saw those guys.
Imagine how you'd feel if you were like a Ted Shackley character and you're paired up with a biker for Trump. Yeah, you're just like, how did this guy get promoted?
Can I say another thing about his shit posting after this? I mean, he's been shit posting nonstop, but also the next day, after he did the Breitbart, the next day he did something like "best wishes to the families of the slain."
Yeah, that was really bizarre. He said "best wishes"
he does
to
that a lot,
everyone in
though.
New
Good luck.
He likes
Zealand.
doing that.
Yeah,
but wait, no. After that, though, he did another tweet about Jexodus, this ridiculous astroturfing organization that implies that Jews are actually leaving the Democratic Party, and he did that like right afterwards. And to me, it was shit posting, but it was like, I think, like subtly saying, even though Muslims were murdered, Jews, that Muslims hate you. This is my little wink and nod towards that, and also dividing the left.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, then again, he could just be like tooting him out. It really, really hammered it home how Jacinda Ardern had to talk to him after this.
Oh man,
can you fucking imagine just like fucking dozens of your people just get fucking killed by a guy who like subscribes to the same like strain of like far like just neo-fascism that like the global empire is exporting, and then you have to get a phone call from just the fucking dawdling baby president who's just yelling at you about Bruce and Nellie Orr, and he's like, by the way, good luck to those who died. It fucking sucks. I mean, it's so much.
It's breathtaking. Like New Zealand is a country that probably had like 40 murders over the last decade in that country, and now they have 50 in one day. Carried out by a guy who, as Felix said, was a supporter of a neo-fascist ideology that is basically being brewed here in America, and of which President Trump is a vital figurehead for these people.
Yeah, then he calls you and he's complaining about like the Fox weekend lineup, and you can't hang up because he has all the nukes and military bases and can sabotage anyone's economy.
Yeah.
But you're just like, Nellie Orr is ugly as shit. You're right, sir. Oh my God.
BJ Kennedy made a great point, Mr. President.
Holy shit.
But like, Ellie, the interesting thing is like the people who are most furious at you, like I said, like the Ben Shapiro flunkies who say that this is like Joseph Goebbels, or I think Eli Lake said you do cartoons for anti-Semites, because he's smart enough not to call you an anti-Semite, you personally.
I'm doing the work of anti-Semites for them.
You're
and also minstrel. He's repeatedly called me a minstrel.
A minstrel and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
you're a Shabbos Jew.
But
Shabbos Mensch.
Very good.
they all hate Trump, or at least claim to.
Yeah, when push comes to shove.
Yeah, but when push comes to shove, like
he rolls down that hill.
Which is baffling to me because he gave them everything they want. He moved a fucking embassy to Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how do people like Brett Stevens and like Barry Weiss square it in their own mind that like I think the tone that they've adopted is like the left is making people support Trump, and by like they're implying subtly me as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
because of things like Ilhan Omar.
I honestly think they wish that they could just be open Trump supporters at this point, because thinking it through, it's you could make the credible case that if you're anti-Trump, you're anti-Israel.
Well, that's the case they're making. I mean, not Barry and Brett, but that's what the Republican
we're talking about people like Barry and Brett, like the supposed like the rational, never Trump conservatives and Zionists.
Yeah, I wonder if it all comes down to that. I mean, it's ridiculous that they're actually equating, fascism, ascendant fascism with basically a neutered opposition, and
Yeah, but I mean, a theme that you return again and again in your cartoons and comics too is this idea that like that in a moment in which like there is a genuine breakup especially among young people in like what was considered the consensus about U.S. and Israel and America's policy towards Israel, and this sort of special status as like Israel as like the second America, who's like our little brother in the Middle East and the scrappy guy that we'll always stand up for. That consensus is breaking up right now,
totally,
especially among young people and among young Jews, and the people who are, essentially shackled to it or the most devoted to it are having to find a way to deal with that, and the way they're dealing with that is getting in bed with with Donald Trump and a neo-fascist right wing in this country that is going to toe the line on Israel, but at the same time, like Steve King. Yeah. People like that,
and redefining anti-Semitism to mean criticism of Israel, and ultimately they're gonna redefine it to mean criticism of evangelicals because they're the most fierce Zionists in America, and that's the trend we're heading towards.
So, what is it like to be, accused of hating Jews or being a self-hating Jew by people like Ben Shapiro or the Mandel brother, the brother and sister wife?
Who?
Beth and Seth. Beth and
it's
Beth and Sethany Mandel.
Yeah, Sethany. Yeah.
Sethany Mandel. Yeah,
I like Sethany.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say about them, and I've said this repeatedly, and I'll keep saying it. 6 weeks after the Pittsburgh shooting, the most horrific pogrom in American Jewish history, they went to the White House Hanukkah party. They rejoiced. They took smiling selfies in front of the presidential seal when we should all have been out in the streets, and we should be out in the streets every fucking day, but especially while the bodies were still warm, essentially. And they're calling me a fucking anti-Semite. They should be. That's like excommunication material.
Wait, I thought they don't like Trump. They went to his fucking Hanukkah party.
Yeah, well, like the hors d'oeuvres must have been more than worth it for the fascism.
I doubt it.
She actually wrote a post in which she's bragging about the buffet. She took pictures of it.
God, these people can be bought so cheap.
What a fucking rube.
What a bunch of cheap dates.
Can, if the PFLP was still kicking, if they could have just gone to Costco.
I could make a great Hanukkah meal.
No, you. All right. We're talking about fake anti-Semitism versus real anti-Semitism. This is a violent threat to the Jewish people.
No, what's the food? It's like brownies.
Brownies.
Did you say brownies?
This motherfucker said brownies.
Oh my god! I love my classic
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
I'm going to teach you something actually here. The Hanukkah meal is actually not supposed to be good or good tasting or enjoying. It's supposed to remind you of the hardships.
That's Passover, you fucking goy.
Oh wait, what's Hanukkah?
No, the oil, not the hardships, but the oil could last. So
it's the same. The Passover Seder. That's a bad one.
If it's like a fish fry.
I mean, I think those are included among some people. I think, I don't know. Wait, can we go back to anti-Semitism? I know Virgil's taking the floor there, but I just want to say that when people ask me like if it bothers me, I mean, it used to bother me somewhat, but now like when people are on the side of actual Nazis calling me an anti-Semite, it just becomes so absurd. It's like it just dirt off my shoulder because they have zero argument coming into this game, and so maybe they could have made some argument. It was totally immaterial and unjustified 10 years ago, but now they are explicitly on the side of fascism. And it's preposterous.
Not just in America, but also in Israel too, and the Netanyahu government, which is becoming explicitly tied, like has reformed with like the Kahanist party to eke out another election, and
supporting European fascists as well,
Viktor Orban and the likes of them.
Yeah.
So,
I also want to say, when Meghan McCain, everyone was like, they said it was such a silly, it's so absurd. This obvious Gentile scion in America accusing a Jewish cartoonist of anti-Semitism. I think it's people maybe that didn't know my work too well, but for me, it didn't even occur to me that was the absurd thing because I've been so used to being called anti-Semitic for years now just for criticizing Israel's treatment of Palestinians that when she did it, it was like, of course, because they consider her. And Bethany Mandel actually said, you're invited to Shabbos because of the cartoon idea.
You got a hood pass now.
Megan, you could say kike now. Oh yeah, I can start saying that. Yeah, I don't know why the Jewish people are punishing her by sending her to the Mandel Shabbos, but
people like Bethany consider McCain more of a Jew than me.
Yeah. Well, did you see what David Frum said? How the McCain family would put on yellow stars in the case.
The apocryphal Danish.
The King of Denmark one.
Yeah, exactly. And then he published a thing about how immigrants shouldn't be allowed into America.
Yeah. No, it's you can't make it up, and why would you want to? Why would you want to think about anyone like this? I have to say, I was not really surprised by the amount of wagon circling around Chelsea, because it's like a lot of completely average people need to protect their jobs and upward momentum in their careers. It makes sense. They're well connected. But Meghan shocked me. Because first of all, what can Meghan do? I know she's on The View, but what can she do for any of them? It was just this, I'd say an even more mediocre person than Chelsea Clinton with even less abilities. And I had never seen, just the blood loyalty to her was incredible. For going on TV and crying the big girl tears, it was fucking unreal. I didn't feel like I was witnessing reality.
Yeah. You mean not what she did, but the rallying around her?
Yeah. I mean, Meghan McCain. These people used to fucking hate Meghan McCain because she wrote completely ineffectual blog posts that no one read that were like, I'm a Republican, but I don't think we should kill gay people. Like very courageous stuff. And they'd be like, hey, Mrs. Boobs, calm down. And now it's just like read Ben Shapiro's old blog post about her.
Yeah,
exactly
his
that.
tweets, I think they're still there.
Yeah. Or her husband's tweets for that matter. But yeah, just the it's insane. It's a siege mentality, I guess. But like, holy shit.
No, but as we said leading off the show, I mean, the victims of these terrorist atrocities are, of course, the people in the media who get made fun of for their, idiotic appropriation or comments on, these things.
Also,
either before or after it.
You could just see the dehumanization of Muslim life clearly in the reaction to the Chelsea thing at NYU. Because, I mean, the only comparison that is that occurs, the main comparison that occurs to me is it'd be like, a day after the Pittsburgh shooting, and I'm forced to sit with somebody who's in the Republican Party, who's been, dog whistling this Soros caravan bullshit. I would have yelled at them, of course. And I think because, Jews in America have been normalized into the country more so, obviously, than Muslims have. I don't think. I think there would have been sensitivity towards my rage, and this woman, this college student at NYU, it wasn't even rage. It was just like it was tears. It was emotion. It was so raw. Her emotions.
She was angry for sure.
It was like, but I mean, it was also like it was rage born of mourning and like the immediacy of the tragedy, And for people to be telling her that she needs to find a better way of communicating these things when she's in the middle of grieving this atrocity, it's just like, it just shows that it's just such a devaluing of Muslim life, in my view.
Yeah, a lot of the response to it was from volunteer RAs. Talking about how she's going to get written up by the provost.
Or like she's not. There was a lot of snitching, trying to get her in trouble with NYU for like not comporting to NYU's like student handbook of behavior or whatever. Yeah, really, really gross.
Yeah, that's fucked.
I saw people dig up tweets from when she was like 14. Using bad words to talk about Drake, which is compare what she's doing to what Chelsea was doing at the same age. Protesting for the Iraq War.
Yeah, I thought that was apocryphal, but apparently it's true. She actually, I can't believe that.
When she was it like Oxford?
Yeah.
Rhodes
another thing she achieved by her own merit, by the way.
That was amazing. One guy was defending Chelsea and said, she got into, these 4 elite universities. She's sat on 5 boards. You think that wasn't from her own merit?
Someone really said that sentence.
Yeah, that's like why you shouldn't really argue with those people. That's just being insane. I'm not kidding. That's just insanity if you think that.
Well, that's just being a sucker.
No, I think that just you literally look at Chelsea Clinton and look at the fucking pablum she said her entire life and her green pancakes, and you're like, yeah, no, everyone just noticed a smart woman and didn't see her last name till later.
You remember when NBC hired her? I think it was NBC hired her to be like a correspondent, and it was like the contract was something insane, like $750,000, and she did like 2 on-screen appearances throughout the entire 2016 election.
Didn't they do it with a Bush kid too?
The Bush kid did way more actual work than Chelsea did, I think.
Why do these networks they hire every failed daughter? Okay, I kind of get hiring the Bush daughter because like presumably that gets you access of some kind, but Abby Huntsman.
Huntsman's a weird one.
We got to know what's we got to have access to John Huntsman.
We're losing the John Huntsman primary. It's thing is though, I was never one of the people who like hated Chelsea Clinton until like the Ilhan Omar thing. Really, I was just like, yeah, she's just a completely fucking dull. She's the woman version of Luke Wilson in Idiocracy. Basically, that's what I thought. Until all this, I was just like, yeah, it's fine. Like. I was like, she's so much better than Meghan McCain, and it's like, no, they're just both equally fucking shit. But Meghan's like a more openly malicious and
sanctimonious and toddlerish.
Well, Meghan's more of a caricature that you can relate to. Like you can see that person, screaming at a returns department at a department store.
About her dad.
Chelsea's like more ambiguously bad,
Yeah, the Jews are so lucky to just have both of them with the combined power to write a single entire children's book without a ghostwriter.
Oh, that was one of the things on Chelsea's resume. Oh, she wrote 2 children's books.
Wow.
It is funny that the victim of anti-Semitism last week was Meghan McCain, and the victim of Islamophobia this week is Chelsea Clinton.
Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, God works in unexpected, in mysterious ways.
But when the Meghan McCain the cartoon controversy was going on, and again, people were like, I think Meghan said like the reaction to to her crying on The View was, in her words, quote, the most anti-Semitic thing I've ever seen.
No, the actual comic was.
The comic itself was.
Yeah, and I joke, she was in a coma during Charlottesville and Pittsburgh.
Yes, you didn't notice those. Yeah, she didn't notice that. Yeah, she said your comic was the most anti-Semitic thing she's ever seen.
Yeah, a satire of Christians fetishizing Jews.
Here's the thing: like, what in the imagery or content of the comic was anti-Semitic?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like you drew her, and let's be honest. I think in a way the way you portray most people, like Trump, you just is like this pulsating blob of flesh with like teeth in it. Right. It's like very sort of like some sort of like tumor come to life.
Yeah.
Meghan McCain, you pretty much drew her as Meghan McCain. It wasn't very exaggerated.
Yeah, I was actually talking about fat shaming.
Yeah,
I was trying not to do the fat shaming thing. So, but I actually had.
But like, and then she was surrounded with like a Matisyahu CD, and like, so was that what they interpreted as anti-Semitic? That she was surrounding herself with like Jewish cultural.
Wait, let me just say, whatever I do, I could have drawn her with the Chabad Lubavitch rabbi, ascending to heaven, and they would be anti-Semitic. I think
Mosaic is here, but it's Megan.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think they would have called it regardless. But I think the Judah, the German Star of David, forced upon Jews in Germany during the preceding and during the Holocaust, and throughout Europe. I think maybe they did some twisted, reaction to that. It's really hard to analyze. It's clearly a very, very intrinsically Jewish, in my view, piece of art, which has intratextual Jewish playfulness regarding like the Matisyahu shit and stuff like that, and it's making fun of Christian Zionist anti-Semitism via the Jewish Race Explained book, and that kind, and what she's actually saying. But because they have already adopted Christian Zionists into the Jewish fold, any criticism of that has to be anti-Semitic.
Now, again, it was the exact same ideology, that led that guy into Pittsburgh and led this person into those mosques in New Zealand. But like for people on the Jewish right, like Ben Shapiro, it's obviously a lot more difficult. It's a lot harder for them. I noticed like right after the Christchurch massacre happened, Ben Shapiro was like, don't share the video,
Yeah.
don't say his name. And
Don't
I'm like,
don't say my name.
Which is classic.
Don't say my name. Don't search his browser history. Don't see what he like the guy who
Right.
shot up that mosque in Quebec was a huge fan of Ben Shapiro.
Like, to
and
start
it's like,
off-
hold on, I agree with don't share the video or say his name, and I don't think anyone should spend any amount of time trying to understand his manifesto or parse it or find any kind of meaning there. It's fascist insanity. It's not meant to be consistent or have any kind of coherent. It's an ideology of death. That's all you need to understand it. And we know who's stoking it. It's an ideology of violence towards immigrants, towards Jews, towards Muslims. That is what's going on here. But for someone like Ben Shapiro to then just be like, in fact, actually, don't tell us anything at all about the shooter whatsoever, and let's just assume that just bad things happen,
Yeah.
And they're having a hard time towing that line, but they're going to do it. And of course, no one's going to call them on this bullshit.
Yeah. I mean,
Because Ben Shapiro or any of these YouTube guys, these the Logic Brigade, have been saying for years now in books and tweets and videos or whatever that Islam and Muslim immigrants represent an existential threat to your life, your identity, and your safety and Western civilization. And it was interesting. Louis Gohmert, he had one of the most bizarre and terrifying reactions to this, where he was like, wow, it was basically sickening what happened in Christchurch.
do it in the courts.
Yeah, he's like, violence is never the answer. There are legislatures and laws. If you want to get rid of undesirables, do it through the proper channels.
Disenfranchise them step by step. Don't shoot them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's insane.
But for a guy like Shapiro to again play, see no evil, hear no evil about this bullshit is pretty rich.
Yeah, yeah. And also, you're talking about the anti-Semitic accusations, etc. I think it's partly that, and if you try and see through their eyes, they see the future of Jewish life around the world in Israel, and so to them, especially, Ben Shapiro himself has said that I am a Gino. That it's this fucking word, Jews in name only. That everyone who voted for Obama is a Gino, is not really a Jew.
That's 80% of Jews
exactly.
in America.
It's 80%. And so I think he's already written us off, and he doesn't. It just doesn't really enter his radar the safety and security of Jews outside of Israel, and that's why he can sleep, I suppose, at night while implicitly, tacitly allying with the forces seeking the destruction of the Jews.
Shapiro has just explicitly said bad Jews are destroying Westerns. He's found a way to do the Zionist version of the
Zog government,
Judeo Bolshevik shit. Yeah.
And then of course, other people I saw Dave Rubin was he's not even going to tweet today, just thoughts and prayers or whatever. And it's just why not, Dave?
Yeah.
Why don't you tweet out that fucking interview you did with Stefan Molyneux on your fucking your asshole YouTube channel for fucking babies? These people are, again, when it is convenient for them, they will become so Jewish and talk about how unsafe they feel by when someone criticizes Israel or waves a Palestinian flag or supports solidarity at any level with the Palestinian cause. They will immediately tell you how Jewish they are and how afraid they personally feel as Jews. But then it's just their ideological fellow travelers basically did nothing other than take the things that they've said and done seriously. Then they got to clam up. So I think it should be pretty clear to everyone what's going on with regards to the people who have spent years flirting with the intellectual dark web, the alt-right, the race IQ people, the fucking let's just have a conversation about immigration or Islam or all that bullshit. They're all drinking from the same fetid sewer, basically.
Yeah, they just erase Jews from it when they're making their arguments, but the people that they're whose philosophies they're subscribing to add Jews to the Muslims, to the Mexicans, etc., that are bringing down this country and Western civilization in general.
Again, it just seems like it's one after the other, not just mass shootings, but mass shootings with an explicitly, fascist, racist, ideological program and targets, and how they choose it. again, this is hard to talk about, on a show that's supposed to be funny or whatever, but it's just like, the thing I'm tired of hearing is that like it's the internet is making this is the reason for this, or like it's the memes or the trolling, and I just think like that's just covering up for. I don't think like there's anything like particularly special or interesting about like the internet's relation to these kinds of terrorist acts. It's just like, I mean, that's where it's being shared, and people I guess are sort of finding purchase for this kind of ideology, but like. It's not like it created it, or it would, not be there with absent the internet. If we just took everyone's Twitter account away or whatever,
no, it's like just the new medium to broadcast this kind of hateful ideology.
Every time, something inconceivably awful happens that we see front and center more than pretty much anyone in human history could see it. There's like an immediate, I don't think bad impulse to want to do something, so it just turns into this like. Referendum on the closest thing in front of us. So it's like it's the internet because it's true. The internet makes it easier to disseminate like hate and conspiratorial thinking, and can make it easier to like buy guns and talk yourself into it. But let's not act like that didn't happen before, or it's a billion other like value neutral things. It's irony, or it's internet forums, or it's video. Just the concept of videos on the internet, and you go through the same cycle every time where you see like some very navel gazy thread from everyone who ever posted on a forum talk about how this is I saw fascism firsthand when I posted about Long Cat in 2006, and it's tiring. But I don't hate anyone for that. Or like, we've got to fix the algorithm. That's the only problem. It's a very normal impulse, but it's short-sighted. I agree.
I mean, or fix the algorithm, or like just quarantine all of them on Gab. Like, fine, I don't care about that. But the point is, like, even before social media was a big thing, way back in, let's say, 2001, the U.S. government since then has been dedicated to, killing Muslims en masse throughout the world. And like, Islam has been, like, the enemy for quite some time now. And, I'm sorry, even the good president, Obama, spent a lot of his time in office fucking killing a shitload of innocent Muslims. In the name of our, safety and security.
What do you think has like a bigger effect on the culture? Like, is it like 4chan, or is it like you make a $1 million movie like American Sniper about how cool this guy was because he could just fucking one tap all the Muslims?
Yeah, or spending an entire week prior to the atrocity, finding out, Congress trying to figure out a way to ostracize and humiliate Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
But when Trump is actually signal boosting white supremacists throughout the world.
And I don't like blame anyone for not looking at that shit first, because like it's like incredibly less appealing. That's such a harder problem to fix than like YouTube. Absolutely. But yeah, it is. You do immediately want to go after the thing that you think is right in front of your face. But sometimes it's the thing under your nose.
Thanks for these are like the hard episodes to do because everyone's thinking about this horrible thing that can happen, but it's just sort of, I don't know if there's anything new to say. It's
there
like
really
isn't.
Which
is what makes it so terrible, other than our expressions of grief and solidarity along with America and New Zealand's Muslim community, and just I can't help but be inspired by all the people who showed up to services over the weekend and will continue to do so, knowing full well that there's probably another person out there fantasizing about making them, their next live stream, I will say it was nice to see New Zealand just be like, yeah, we're getting rid of guns. And that was it. And they did it.
Yeah.
Not going to happen in this country, but it's good to know that someone somewhere can just be like, yep, we're banning semi-automatic weapons. And they're like, yep, that's it. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's like, it's not worth it if shit like this can happen otherwise.
What are you going to do if you don't have a semi-automatic weapon and you're confronted by a kakapo in the wild?
There are a lot of scary animals, in that part of the world. Yeah. More so in Australia, though. a lot of poisonous things over there.
Yeah.
Didn't they already deal
And
with
venomous.
guns there in Australia? I forget. What's the Australian?
The Port Arthur massacre.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
they did like
Yeah.
a massive gun buyback after that. And
Right.
what do you know? There hasn't been another mass shooting there, and their suicide rate like dropped by a third or something insane like that.
Think how easy it is to just commit suicide by nature out there. Though. That's it.
Yeah,
instead of reaching for a cop service weapon, you just reach into a kangaroo's pouch.
That's how you kill yourself in Australia. Well, I'm just going to walk in one direction for a while.
Okay, why don't we dip into this now? We referenced it earlier. This is Bethany Mandel, one half of Bethany and Sethany Mandel, the awesome power couple of the Federalist, New York Post, and generally being insufferable on Twitter. You referenced this. She wrote for the forward here. This is Trump's Hanukkah party reminded me why America is great for Jews.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But wait, I'm sorry.
Ben Shapiro has a book coming out. later
Yeah,
this
yeah.
week.
Go to his Twitter, and I think New York Post ran that would be a good thing to read too. New York Post ran an excerpt or something, or I think one of these tabloids did, and it's like really great synchronicity for his book with marketing that New Zealand happened.
Yeah, another
days
mass
before.
murder.
The book
Yeah,
was
yeah.
titled "There Will Never Be a Mass Shooting in New Zealand."
The real Ben Shapiro, the real reason I was attacked on college campuses. This is another hilarious thread to the reaction to all of this is the people like Jonathan Chait, who has spent the last 2 years talking about like the threat to free speech on college campuses, are still trying to hump that fucking that corpse like in the midst of this kind of shit. Like,
Hasn't Ben like 40 by now? Aren't you too old to be pretending to be a college student?
okay, this is Hanukkah at the White House by Bethany Mandel in Ricochet. On Thursday, my husband Seth and I attended the White House Hanukkah party along with 100 other Jewish guests from around the country. And
Just,
yours, like,
you know,
this was a
in
couple
parentheses,
weeks after.
6 weeks after.
6 weeks after the
Yeah,
Tree of
October
Life
was Tree of
massacre.
Life, and this was in early December, I think.
We saw friends from California, New Jersey, and quite a few local friends. I wrote about the experience at the foreword. As we left, the Marine Chamber Orchestra played an entire songbook of Jewish music, from Hava Nagila to Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel. It was an incredible moment that brought me to tears. The Marine Chamber Orchestra playing the Dreidel song for her. I stood and watched the band and took a peek at their sheet music and marveled about how blessed American Jews are.
This is why are we making fun of this essay from this 8th grader? I'm like, man, we're all low energy today, but like, holy I like, you know what? Actually, yeah, fine, fucking fix the algorithm everywhere. I need like these people. They're just so dull. They just have not. The only like remarkable thing about them is they're shitty people. Like, I miss Rod Dreher so much after spending like a week focusing on these fucking just dull pieces of shit. They just have nothing.
Oh, you didn't see the pictures, dude.
I mean, I try to avoid pictures of them, but yeah, they're neither of them are good to look at. But yeah, man, this fucking sucks.
She says, but America distinguishes itself because our government, regardless of political party, as well as our media and our neighbors, are, by and large, enormously welcoming of those of the Jewish faith. Are there exceptions? Of course.
Charlottesville.
But how many countries in world history, or even currently, would host a party like the one I attended last night at the White House? So there are no other countries in the world whose governments...
Every single country would. Maybe not Saudi Arabia. I don't know.
I mean, I do think that America is like the best country in the world to live if you're a Jewish person, probably. Like,
Yeah, but
but
not
like
evidenced by that.
her reason is that like Donald Trump gave her tater tots.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking idiot.
For the
God.
second year, President Donald Trump hosted a party for Jewish Americans at his home and place of work, the White House.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
by the way. I
what
wasn't
the-
sure what the White House was.
Or where Donald Trump works.
That's not even true. He like does most of his work in New York and at Mar-a-Lago.
Never having been to the White House, I eagerly accepted, just as I would have done under President Obama or President Clinton or any other president. Funny
Can
how
you name
could-
some more presidents, Bethany? You're very smart.
It's funny how she couldn't catch an invite to any of those other presidents, and it's only Donald Trump
Yeah.
who wants the Beth and Sethany at the White House.
What are the odds he thought they were someone else?
100%.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who they
He doesn't know who any
He
of these
saw
people
Beth
are.
and he's like, it's Howard Stern's wife. Wonderful.
Upon arrival, after passing through several rounds of security, were you guys aware that there was security at the White House to get into the White
This
House?
is amazing. The White House, originally invented by George Washington as a place to sleep.
We were greeted by a small band playing in the foyer and a selection of kosher wines. My husband, far more strict than I am about such things, walked past the wine, assuming he couldn't drink it. I asked the attendant, who assured us that every single item at the reception was kosher. There were several libraries to peruse, and peruse we did, before entering the buffet room and the general meeting room, where the president appeared and spoke to the gathered guests. When he spoke to the gathered guests, did he refer to immigrants as an invasion?
Yeah. Any Soros mentions?
Yeah.
I knew Judah Maccabee. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. And he came with tears in his eyes. Like, what was the fuck was that talk?
I think I'll discuss it.
No, that was a talk where he said Israel's your country. Remember? He did it,
Awesome,
there,
dude.
right? Yeah, he notoriously said that at the Hanukkah party.
Well, yeah, that's just how his brain works. You know, the Israel, that's the Jew country. Got it.
We didn't actually make it into that main room. We didn't leave the buffet area, and I may have eaten my weight in rack of lamb. We mingled with old friends.
Oh, rack of lamb. Okay.
Folks we've interacted with. Was Sheldon Adelson there? Did they wheel him out? By the way, prayers up.
Prayers up for Sheldon.
Can we get a prayer spirit bomb going for Sheldon Adelson? I mean that in a positive way.
Sheldon Adelson's brothers, the High Prophet of Regret and the High Prophet of Mercy, were also killed.
Wait, is he dead yet?
Oh my God!
Watch the news today.
Wait a second. No, he's not dead. But he said we mingled with old friends. Oh, holy shit. And did a double take when Jared Kushner walked by, or Sheldon Adelson passed us on his scooter.
Wow. You called
She
that
means
one.
Razor Scooter. He was doing tricks.
There were a lot of these bizarre moments. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's the thing. You're really underselling how bizarre this is. The big Hanukkah party featuring the Marine band, Sheldon Adelson, and like the most openly fascist president America's ever had.
It's like in her tone, it's like she was starstruck by seeing Jared Kushner.
Yeah, she was like, "Ooh, I made sure my husband was out of the room when I snuck a look at Jared."
She's like Felix's Call of Cthulhu character and how much she enjoys this.
This is the lunch of Calvin Coolidge. This is greatest fantasy. This is so fucking lame.
Walking around the White House, seeing famous portraits of ex-presidents and first ladies, and then seeing a bright Trump yarmulke pass by. We also heard a somewhat decent speech from the president about Jews lost in Parkland in Pittsburgh, and then hearing chants of Trump, Trump, Trump down the hallway through the television monitor broadcasting the speech into the buffet room. So he's talking about, yes, many of your Jewish brothers killed in Parkland, and then down the hall where they're watching it on a monitor, like they just started chanting Trump, Trump, Trump.
Yeah. Best wishes.
Even the cult of personality couldn't dampen the feeling of being in the White House at Hanukkah, surrounded by beautiful Christmas trees and decorations. As we there she goes. I stood and watched the band, took a peek at their sheet music, and marveled about how blessed American Jews are. For many of those present last night, our recent ancestors arrived with little in their pockets and no grasp of the English language. And we're now all working hard to make sure that never happens again for any other human being. No, they lived in the tenements of the Lower East Side. Have you guys heard about this one, by the way? You guys heard about Jews living in tenements in Lower East Side? Garments, making garments in factories?
Is this about Miss Maisel again?
Yeah, many of them became stand-up comedians.
Stop referencing that. Nobody knows what you mean when you're referencing that.
Well, the people who watch the show do. Come on.
Nobody watches the show.
Dude, Miss Maisel.
Mrs. Maisel is the Barristan Selmy of the Upper West Side.
This is Mrs. Maisel in Mrs. Maisel Infinity War. She's like known as the greatest comedian on earth, and then Steve Harvey comes back, and she can't stand up to his awesome power.
So they said, all right, they gave us a better life. Nothing short of the American dream. In 2018, like in her mind, she's like, oh, they all came the right way. When they were just poured out of every like ghetto in Eastern Europe into Lower Manhattan, and they were like, what? They waited in line.
Yeah, and also the right breed is what she's saying.
Yeah.
White Jews.
The president himself, far from an ideal man, of this we are well aware, proudly spoke of how the Jewish faith is so deeply woven into the fabric of his family. This country isn't perfect for Jews or anyone else, but for a few precious minutes, looking at the sheet music and seeing those in attendance dancing, it felt remarkably close. Now, Ellie, I know a lot of your haters on the Jewish right love to call you a capo, but I mean, I'm not going to call her that.
No,
but...
I mean, I don't even call them that because I think capo, we have to recognize capos during the Holocaust didn't really have a choice. And it's hard to judge them by our standards living in, free society. What people who are normalizing what's happening now, this is worse than capo. This is because they have a choice and they are electing because they already have privilege to shit on all marginalized communities, including Jews, as we're heading in that direction again. So that is worse than Chapo.
And like her invocation of like the Jewish immigrant story of like coming to the Lower East Side and not speaking Yiddish, and then like now we're successful, and it's like an American success story.
Yeah.
By the way, Central Americans are invading our country and are a plague that must be stopped and fought.
Yeah.
Or the Muslims they're not assimilating to America.
There's zero self-awareness with that shit.
But they're selling out for a fucking buffet, and Sheldon being at a party where they can see Sheldon Adelson in his scooter.
Sheldon, for a buffet, Edelson's scooter, and also knowing that the embassy is moved to Jerusalem. I like to say that they would shovel us into the ovens if it meant new gold toilets in the Jerusalem embassy.
The Trump Mar-a-Lago new hotel in Jerusalem.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do they care so much about Israel? I mean, there's like a lot of things you can care about. There's movies, TV shows, posts. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that assessment of like things it's okay to care about.
I'll tell you why.
Are you like it's like, oh, I'm the Israel nerd. The capital has always been Jerusalem.
Well, it is.
Check out these coins I found.
You're talking about Judah and Samaria. Easy noob mistake, but take it to off topic.
Well, Virgil, you see, for them, the Torah and the Old Testament is the lore that they're really into.
Yeah, but it's like there's a few really good books of lore, and it doesn't even connect. Like, how people bitch about what D&D did to Game of Thrones? It's like Israel to the Old Testament. It's like only season 7. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's my point again. There's a million books. You could be really obsessed with the works of Shakespeare.
Israel, Palestine, solved by Virgil, Texas. You heard it here first. Look, just read Hamlet. Get into something else.
Dude, what if that worked? What if he went up to Netanyahu and said that, and he's like, I never thought about it that way. And Israel just fucking disbands. They're like, he's right. This shit's stupid. Let's get into fighting games and fucking How I Met Your Mother. There's just no more Israel. It just works. They're like, no one told us that we could do something else besides this.
I'm free now.
There's no more Forward.
No more Forward, the newspaper.
Yeah. No more of the greatest articles we've ever read.
What do you think, Elliot? You think that'll work? Just tell people like, hey, just stop caring about Israel. It's just a country. Who cares?
If Virgil's the messenger.
Yeah. Okay. Check. What do you think about this for a message? Okay. Do the Israel nerd.
Yeah. Well, the Golan Heights in 1953.
And I shove him out of the way. I'm like, hey, Israel, Palestine, Xbox, PC, I don't care. Grab the sticks and shut up and game.
Who's your main Palestine?
Yeah.
Well, I think we
solved it. We did it.
Took another issue sensitively dealt with and dispatched with. Problem solved.
We did it.
No more evil in the world.
Do you see that the fucking guy who killed the mob boss is a QAnon guy?
No.
Yeah.
With the dude who killed the guy in Staten Island is a QAnon guy?
He fucking Q on his palm.
Wait, they found the mob boss behind all the deep state shit?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
That guy put the clues together?
Yeah, it's nuts. No, the QAnon guy killed the mob boss. You've got to be fucking pissed if you're a mafia guy and that happens. You're like, it's not another mob guy, just some fucking guy who loves online.
Did he kill him because of QAnon?
We don't know. I don't know yet. Probably.
Yeah, you have all these enemies, and you think you're safeguarded from all of them, and then it's just
Yeah. You're like, all right, I double checked my home for bugs, making sure I wasn't followed home. I changed my guards every 3 hours, and then just some guy who has been reading about John Podesta every day for 2 years, just bang.
Can I just say, I actually forgot what the referent of your Meghan McCain comic was, because people have spent the past weekend retweeting just the most vapid post from Meghan McCain from 2009.
Which one was that? I don't think I saw that.
I just throughout the weekend. Just like the most boring and stupid shit I can imagine. And someone found this. I saw this morning. It's really perfect. This is from 2010, when this woman is like in her 20s and a graduate of Columbia University, which merit. Give me the Beach Boys and free my soul.
Michael went into the weirwood tree and wrote that. Like, I refuse to believe that's give me the Beach Boys and free my soul. Fucking Jesus, dude.
And then whenever someone would retweet something like that, she would delete it. So she's spending most of her time doing that now.
Deleting the original tweets?
Just deleting the original tweets, and they're also perfect. I mean, I hope these are archived somewhere under some, like the presidential fail daughter library.
Give me the Beach Boys and free my soul.
It's really perfect.
That's gonna make me forget the original song.
It's give me the Beat Boys and free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll.
Right, and it would be give me
Jim
the beat,
Morrison.
that makes sense.
Jim Morrison. Well, I think that about does it for us today. Sort of spun
low energy.
Out at the end there, but
sometimes you got to spin out to go forward.
That's true. You got to turn into the crash.
Oh, I got a plug.
Fine.
Okay, so as you know, the New York Department of Sanitation is soliciting names for the recycling team members. And
of their anthropomorphized garbage cans.
No. Only one is a garbage can. See, that's why this is difficult to talk about, because they don't have names. One is a compost pile, one is a recycling bin, one is a recycling bin of another color, because they're two different ones. They're supposed to explain these things, is the thing. That's their purpose. And I find them very helpful, but they don't have names. So they're soliciting names for each one. They all have backstories, too. And they're holding these polls to name each one. And right now they're on the gray one, which is a trash can, gray trash can you'd see outside, conventional. And they have a poll with these three options, and the options are terrible. Like one was like Captain Hero, something like that. Has nothing to do with the character's backstory or anything like that. I would like one of them to be named after me.
Okay.
So I would like the listeners to go to the New York Department of Sanitation's Twitter feed and, just at them. Just tell them, hey, name the can after Virgil. You could also go on the form, and the form, like I said, it's just a form with three options, but I found a little workaround here. You could put your email address in there. So just put like name the can after Virgil @gmail.com and then submit that.
Thanks for that, Virgil. Our listeners might also consider, I don't know, donating some time or money to their local, mosque or Muslim community or a group that works with immigrants or anything, or they could do that. There is
a fundraiser for the victims of the Christchurch massacre that we'll put in the episode description as well.
Or you could do the thing Virgil asked of you.
I mean, you can do both. You can do both.
I'm curious about the others' backstories because they've only mentioned the one so far.
All right, I'm ending this episode.
Oh my God! Can I say? Are we still on? I just want to say I'm sorry that I'm so exhausted. I was up all night drawing Chelsea Clinton, and I just cannot muster energy to speak. So terrible time to go on a podcast. Sorry.
Well, we thank you for all the art.
All right,
and all the laughs, Elliot. Cool. Keep them coming.
Okay, thanks.